Hey, yo, what's going on right now? You're watching Casino is the Name. And in this video, I want to talk to you guys about the middle class. The middle class, as well as just bad information or let's say facts versus opinions. Yeah, that's a better way to say it, because on this channel, I try to not like talk bad about anybody. That's what I specialize, well, I don't want to say specialize in, that's what I pride myself on, is to not really talking bad about another creator or like content creator or another business person or anything like that. But there needs to be a time where people like myself or people more in the financial space, like I'm an accountant, right? And so there needs to be a time or a place where people like myself can come in and just kind of rearrange bad information, right? And when I say bad information, I'm referring to information that's presented to the public, right? And it may just be someone's opinion. A lot of these things are just people's opinions, right? And I got sent a video. My sister sent me this video. I guess she wanted to see what I thought about it. And I watched the video, and the people who created the video or put this video out, they have a huge platform, right? It's a platform that a lot of people go to. They have a conference and things like that. So a lot of people listen to them, believe in what they're saying, follow what they're saying, and things like that. And, you know, they're in the financial space. Like, that's what they talk about, is entrepreneurship, growth, that kind of thing. And so I watched this video and I was just a bit taken back by what they said. And it was not so much that I thought that they were necessarily trying to mislead people. Maybe they really just think that, you know? Maybe they have a very skewed way of looking at things because of what they've seen personally. I don't know. But they were discussing the middle class, and I'm gonna just play what they said. All right, give me 1 second. So where is it? Here it is. So let me know what you guys think.
I think the middle class is done away with right now. If you really think about it, like what is middle class? Like, you know, growing up, you always thought the middle class was somebody that had a job like a nurse or a teacher or a firefighter, and they could buy a home and they could go on a vacation or two every year, send their kids to college, work for 30 years, and then retire. None of those things that I just said are attainable to any of those professions right now, for the most part. Buying a home is becoming more and more unattainable by the year. Going on vacation, good luck. At this rate of plane tickets and travel and gas and all of that, sending your kids to college. We talk about the college inflation is twice the amount of regular inflation. Pretty soon you're going to be looking at $100,000 a year for college, private college.
Which is insane.
So no middle class person can send their kid to college without taking out student loans. If you have to take...
So it's a lot to unpack there, right? First things, he's talking about the middle class, and he lists occupations: nurses, teachers, just general careers that you would consider would put you in the middle class. And he goes on to say that, you know, you would typically think that if you're in the middle class, you could buy a home, you could take 1 or 2 trips a year, I guess get a car, and I guess send your kids to private college. Don't know why he singled out private college. College is what the goal is, I would think. Private college, I don't know why they said private college. I think just to help aid them in the discussion, because private college is more expensive. But if your kids did good, and say if you lived in Georgia, kids did good in high school, then you know, there's Hope scholarships and Pell Grants and things like that you may be able to qualify for, at least Hope Scholarship, where school is mainly provided. And if they went to a state school with college is a lot more affordable, and especially if you save for it. Now let's peel some layers back. So he said in 30 years, you'd be able to retire and do all of these things. But in the current way that things are going, you won't be able to take trips. You won't be able to retire in 30 years. You won't be able to send or help age a kid in going to college, I guess. So I don't know what he's talking about, all right? Trips of today, I mean, unless you're trying to take some very expensive trip around the world where you're in first class or something like that, I can fly to Miami for $50 round trip from Atlanta. $50 round trip there and back. I can get to the Bahamas for another $325, $370 or something. So for less than $500, I can go to the Bahamas for a weekend in today's world, right? Now, this isn't $500 back in the early 90s where $500 was a lot more money. This is $500, or less than $500 in today's time. And that's all the way to the Bahamas. Take the Balearia over, $300 some round here and back. From here to Miami and Miami to back with Fort Lauderdale and back can be less than $50. Definitely $60, $70 you can get there and back. Let's say round it all the way up, you're at $420 with everything, with just going from here to the Bahamas. And that's the Bahamas. Now, if I just want to go to Miami for the weekend, I just want to fly down there, the trip is only $50, $60 round trip there and back. Now, what I spend when I get there, if I got family, if I got to get a hotel, if I want to stay in a nice hotel, all of those things are still variable, but the trip itself does not need to be expensive. I'd say it's easier to pay for those things now than it was in the early 90s when you wanted to go and you still had to spend around the same amount of money or more money. So I don't know what he's talking about, 1 to 2 trips a year. I see people in the middle class taking these trips a lot more frequent than 2 times a year, or maybe a lot more frequent than they probably should, you know what I'm saying? And spending a lot more money, taking excursions and all sorts of things. Birthday parties. Have you seen middle class birthday parties for 40-year-olds in Atlanta? And I don't know where he is, but I thought they were in Atlanta as well, or around Atlanta, the people I'm referring to. But for nurses in general, you're saying if a nurse were to save, I'm gonna do something really simple. You know what? I'm not even gonna do it. I'd suggest you guys pull out a compound interest calculator and imagine that you're a nurse and you make $85,000 a year. We don't even got to hit 6 figures. Now, all the RNs that I know can pull in 6 figures, absolutely, if they want to. That's fresh out of college. They could make $80,000, depending on where they are, of course. But I've seen this. This is what I've seen. I've seen a first job nurse make 80-something thousand out the gate. 6 months later, they got a rate where they got another position that paid them $97,000 with shift diff, pushed them, and overtime pushed them into the 6-figure mark. And that's within the first year of working, okay? But let's just say you had a 401k and you worked for one of these large hospitals that matched 5% maybe or so of whatever you put in or whatever your salary is. So if you put that money in a 401k plan and you had compound interest calculate, I gotta do it. I gotta do it on the phone. I gotta do it just because you guys aren't gonna do this. I'm telling you to do it, but you're not gonna do it, right? So let's see, compound. I'm gonna do it right now while we on here. Compound interest calculator. Now, what we're doing is we're looking at if you put the money into a 401k plan where your company that you're working for is matching, and we're not going to even go into the 6-figure realm. We're just going to look at if you made, let's say for a nurse, let's say 85,000. Okay. All right. Compound interest calculator. I'm on NerdWallet. Initial deposit. It asked initial deposit. So we're going to say $0. You start with nothing. Now, because it's going to be on a monthly, let's say $85,000 is what your salary is, and let's say the company is matching up to 5% of your salary. So if you just put in the amount that they're going to match at 5%, that gives you that lets you know that 10% of your salary is going to be going towards your 401k, all right, for the year. All right, so 10% of 85,000 is 8,500. Okay, so 8,500 is the year amount that's going to go into your 401k plan. 5% is coming from you, and the other 5% is coming from the company matching you for your retirement account. So 8,500 for the year. You divide that by 12. That's $708 a month. All right. So now we're going to start with the initial. We're going to go back to the compound interest calculator, and we're going to say initial deposit $0, monthly contribution $708. And that's going to be on a monthly basis. And we're going to say, and he said, I'm just using his term, he said 30 years. So for 30 years, that's 360 months. Oh, okay. So 360 months, but it just says years of growth. So for 360 months, and let's say we're going to compound 12%. All right. All right, let's see. Where are we? 0. Oh, it says you got to enter an amount greater than 0. So let's say $1. You started with $1 in your 401k plan, and you compound it over 30 years. Because that was the number that he said. Putting $700 a month in there for 30 years at a 12% interest. It says 2.4. So $2,474,470. So you're going to have $2 million in your retirement account over the next 30 years, right? Of that, how much of that was interest? I don't see where it breaks it down to show me this one doesn't break it down, but you can see how much you actually contributed, and you can see how much interest you grew over that 30 years. Time and having income coming in. Now, you still got a chance to live and buy a house. Now, also think about it like this. Let's say you bought a $200,000 house, which is absolutely still doable. It may not be, this house, when I bought it, was $233,000. Right now, this house is about 400 and something thousand if you were to buy one today. But this is a larger size house. There are houses still in the $200,000 and $300,000 ranges that you can absolutely get into within your first 1 to 2 years of having a job. Because the other part about this 401k money is, let's say you need a down payment, and you need a down payment of let's say 3.5%. Let's say it's a $300,000 house, right? It's a $300,000 house, and you need, for a down payment, you need 3.5%. That would be $10,500. So remember how much money you're putting in your 401k every year. Not only should you be maybe trying to save up the $10,500 in order to put down, but from just working or whatever, but you could also just take that money or part of that money from your retirement account, from your 401k. They'll let you borrow that money without penalty in most jobs up to a certain amount of years for you to, pay it back. But that money that you're putting in your retirement account is still usable for you to put a down payment on your house. Now, what happens in 30 years? Let's say just in 30 years, let's say it takes 30 years for your house to double, which it's not supposed to. This house doubled in less than 10. I haven't been here 10 years, and it doubled in value already, okay? Well, almost double. Well, I owe, because I've been paying it down, it's worth double what I owe, what I have left to pay on it. But let's say in the 10-year time frame, the house maybe should double in value, but let's say it doesn't. Let's say it takes a full 30 years for the house to double in value. What happens on a 30-year mortgage in 30 years? And I'm just using these numbers because they said in 30 years on the video. So in 30 years, like the guy is saying, in 30 years, the house will be paid off. Now that house is worth $400,000. Let's say if you bought it for let's say you bought it for $300,000 and in 30 years it's worth $600,000. Okay? Now that house is worth $600,000 and you have $2 million in your retirement account and no mortgage, unless you decide to go out and buy other houses and stuff like that. That's completely up to you. So being able to send your kid to a local state school, which is a couple $1,000s a year, is absolutely doable. You can still help your children. Your children hopefully can help themselves if they go to school in the state that they're from. Now, if you decide, oh, I want to send my kid to Harvard and I live in Atlanta and my kid went to school in Georgia, then that's a whole different thing. Now you're moving too many things around. Can your kid go to school and get an education on a middle class salary? Absolutely. Are middle class people taking trips every year? Yes. Way more trips than is normal, in my opinion. Can they afford to still send their kids to school? Absolutely. Can they retire in 30 years without having to go to work? Yes, especially because the mortgage should be paid off. Can they afford to pay a mortgage for a house that's $300,000? Now, I don't know exactly what a mortgage of $300,000 would be. We can look that up, but it's not much different from what it costs to be in an apartment of today, right? So, as a matter of fact, moving into this house was cheaper, especially since I was a disabled veteran, but it was cheaper than me moving into an apartment. And a 1-bedroom apartment was averaging $1,380. This was in 2016. My mortgage is currently in 2024. My mortgage is currently $1,350, and that's after taxes, insurance, and everything like that. So my mortgage is still less now, and that goes up based off of taxes. So it's going up over time, but it's still less now than it was when I was looking to move back in 2016, 27, I don't know what year it was, 2016, I guess. So is it cheaper still to buy a house? Maybe, maybe not, I don't know, but you definitely get a lot more space than you would in a typical apartment. But do you have to get a house this size? No, you don't. You can get a reasonable house for $200,000-$300,000. Still in today's climate, you can still do that, right? So don't get all confused and caught up. The salaries are much higher than they were back then, and some things are cheaper. In my opinion, traveling is cheaper than it was. Maybe the gas prices is higher, but cars are going further on gas. But yeah, I don't know what they were referring to, okay? But the middle class is alive and well. As a matter of fact, I would say a lot of the people who go to their conferences and pay for these expensive conferences, $1,000, $500, and they book in hotels, it's $200 a night and things like that. Those people, a lot of their fan base is middle class. So it just concerns me because, when they put this information out there, there's somebody who's like, maybe they didn't do the best with their money. Maybe they are a nurse, but they made some bad decisions as far as how much money they spent on their last trip. Maybe they spent $2,000 or $3,000 on their last trip instead of $500, $600, $700. And they want to take 3 more trips this year. That's going to be 15. That could be. Some people got a budget of $6,000 to $15,000 to take 3 trips. And when they get done and they get back and they haven't watched their money and they say, dang, I really spent too much. It's too expensive to travel. No, it's not that expensive to travel. It's the things that you want to do now. These excursions, these bungee jumping, these whitewater rafting, these things where you can parachuted up into the air over the water and things like that. Those things were not even normal to be done back, when I was coming up. But now everybody's doing excursions and stuff like that. So, and that's great. Do whatever you want to do, but just don't confuse the two. It is not very expensive to necessarily travel. I'd say it's probably a lot cheaper to travel today than it was before. Now, staying in hotels can still be pricey, but you know, you can still find $80 and $90 hotel rooms. You don't have to spend $200 and $300 a night. And I promise you, 10 years ago, there was still some of them same hotels at $80 and $90 10 years ago. You know, they just may not be on your quality of living at this point in time because you have a higher standard now because you've earned it. Okay? So anyway, right now you're watching Casino Is the Name. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And don't get confused by bad information. You guys, try to just, you know, even the people who making the videos, try to be realistic here, okay? Try to really just think outside of what you feeling, okay? Just look at the numbers, okay? Look at the numbers. The numbers, men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie, all right? Anyway, right now you're watching Casino Is the Name. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and we out. There are hedge fund managers making $1 million an hour. You know, it's crazy, right? It's money everywhere. It's money in everything. I want to help you. Start your business today. Come join my royal family. Subscribe to Casino Is the Name.